Versatile Mage. Chapter 320. Spit it out. More than 1,000 test subjects were involved in the demon element experiment. However, Jiang Yi had never seen any of them react the same way Mo Fan was now. Normally, the transformation would contort their appearance beyond recognition. Even their bones would be twisted by mutation. One time, a test subject even had bones like blades poking out from the flesh all over his body, completely resembling the appearance of a demon beast. In comparison, the young man before her had retained most of his appearance. That being said, his transformation was way more terrifying than the twisted looks of the other test subjects. The demonized young man suddenly turned around. His eyes with rapidly changing colors were staring at Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi stiffened. She could not even move her fingers. She was utterly clueless why she would be overwhelmed with fear and not dare to have the thought of resisting. I forgot to mention, the demonized young man spoke in human tongue, just that his tone was accompanied by a hint of savagery. Jiang Yi could not believe what she had just heard. It was the first time a demonized magician had spoken normally. The transformation was basically the same as humans who had been possessed by parasitic beasts, which would turn them into demon beasts. Forgot to mention what? Jiang Yi looked at the young man who was so much more extraordinary than the other test subjects. It was like he had turned into a different person due to his demonic appearance. What is he trying to say? And what did he forget to tell me? I don't have just 3 elements. Mo Fan's voice was filled with a hint of a sneer, even though he was not actually sneering. She could hear the mocking laughter echoing in her ears. Jiang Yi was stunned once again. She could not tell if the young man was still the same person as before. Don't have just 3 elements. Could it be? Jiang Yi suddenly realized something. She stared at the soul shadow that resembled a werewolf looming over Mo Fan's back with great astonishment. The shadow. Where did it come from? Before Jiang Yi could answer her own question, the demonized young man stooped. He was like a human-shaped bow that was accumulating power. The ground beneath him cracked open as his body sank down slowly, implying the amount of force he was gathering. Mo Fan sprang into the air, like an arrow being fired into the sky. He disappeared from before Jiang Yi and her soldiers. Raising her eyes, she discovered that Mo Fan had landed right onto a signal tower nearby. It was over 100 meters tall. He had just jumped onto it with pure physical force. The ground cracked open like a giant spiderweb just from his feet, indicating that his body possessed greater explosive power than a demon beast. Doesn't have just 3 elements. Doesn't have just 3 elements. Jiang Yi murmured with a blank face as she looked into the sky. A magician with double innate elements was already considered the perfect candidate for their experiment, but what if the young man had 4 elements? On top of the nest, the enormous razor-tailed drake had locked its gaze onto the heavenly eagle approaching it. With a flap of its wings, the razor-tailed drake flew from the nest and lunged toward the heavenly eagle carrying the giant net. It opened its large mouth, yawning open like a giant cave, planning to swallow the heavenly eagle and the humans in the net with a single bite. It was only treating them as a snack before going back to sleep. It was planning to swallow them and digest them without chewing. The saliva in its oral cavity was exceedingly sticky. Bai Tingting, Zhao Manting, Mu Nujiao, and Mu Ningzu were swallowed right into its mouth. It was just big enough to contain them. If the razor-tailed drake were using its teeth instead, they would be turned into minced meat instantly. They would soon slide down its tongue into its esophagus. The compression of its stomach wall and the corrosiveness of its gastric acids would result in a horrid death for the students. Bai Tingting and Mu Nujiao had already shut their eyes. To be fair, even if their eyes were opened, they would see nothing but darkness too. Filthy lizard, spit it out now. A savage roar shook the place, like a blasting clap of thunder in the clear sky. A figure encapsulated within a wolf-like shadow on top of a signal tower launched himself toward the enormous beast. His fist generated an incredible friction with the air, the fire engulfing it combusting fiercely. As the figure approached the razor-tailed drake, a significantly enlarged fiery fist was thrown right at the razortail drake's neck. The razortail drake, caught in the midst of enjoying its snack, fell backward as its neck received the powerful blow. It automatically spat out the food it was just about to swallow before its enormous body flew backward and slammed heavily into a hole on the nest. The burning flames were like a fiery cloud half dragging Mo Fan into the air. Mo Fan glared at the hole on the nest which the razortail drake had disappeared into, as if he had yet to release all his anger. He raised his leg and kicked down in an arc, firing off a crescent shockwave. The shockwave swept across the sky at an insane speed, aiming right at the razortail drake. The shockwave was sharp like a powerful slash. It swept past the nest silently and disappeared. The tip of the nest began to slide downward, revealing a clean cut across its surface. The cone-shaped stony structure dropped from a height of over 300 meters and slid into the ground in the middle of the city. Jiang Yi and the soldiers had eyes wide, their jaws dropped. Did he just knock back the commander-level razortail drake flying with a single punch? Did he just fire a crescent-shaped projectile with his leg and cut off the top of the razortail drake's nest open? Even with the transformation from the blood Sarira, there was no way he would be granted such terrifying power. 4 elements. He's a magician with 4 elements. A huge wave rose in Jiang Yi's heart. She finally knew why the demonized Mo Fan could still speak, and why he possessed greater power than the rest of the test subjects. The power granted by the blood Sarira was directly proportional to the energy it had drawn from the magician. Since the kid had 4 elements, he would be more than 4 times stronger after the transformation. He had demonized perfectly. Only an intermediate magician with 4 elements would be able to transform perfectly. His consciousness. That's right, he was able to retain his self-awareness too. Otherwise, a demonized magician would only have a strong lust to kill, just like a demon beast. Unlike the test subjects in the past, he was aware of what he wanted to do. He still had control of his mind. It worked. Their demon element was a success. Their demon element was finally a success. Jiang Yi knew she could not escape the punishment of her wrongdoing. However, she was relieved that she could witness the true strength of the demon element with her own eyes. No, what she had just seen was merely the tip of the iceberg of the demon element. He had the power of a demon with 4 elements. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.